Welcome to Oilers Nation Everyday with your hosts, Tyler and Liam.
Aaron, you're supposed to play the intro with Joel's name in it. Let's get into it with the lead. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler, Liam, and potentially Joel. We are live from the Sports Closet Studio. The Joel Closet Studio. Check out online, sportscloset.ca, whatever the moment. Wait, no, that's not their ad read. Nope. 3 locations in the Edmonton area. St. Albert Mall, Sherwood Park Mall, and Kingsway Mall. You know, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary. Use the code NATION and download the app today. Jazz Mookie, Tyler, and Liam about to bounce ass. Which one of us think twerks better?
Good question. I've never twerked before.
I think Liam 1,000%, but I could make a poll.
No, I'm not got that kind of mobility.
But you have...
Tyler's skin and bones.
Yeah, like I don't have an ass.
Yeah.
Oh,
you win by
saying,
default, Liam.
You're saying I'm fat.
Not saying you're fat at all.
That kind of felt like what you were saying.
Well, welcome into the show today, everybody. Day 2 without an Oilers game, which in the year of the condensed schedule, Liam, is weird.
Yeah, I thought there was a game today.
Yeah.
I really did. I woke up and was like, San Jose tonight. Where am I going to watch? No,
virtual golf.
Yeah, virtual golf. I will watch a virtual golf tonight. Oh, yeah, it's Wednesday. Cheesecake Wednesday, virtual golf.
Yep.
What a day.
What a day.
Gotta take some extra reactin.
Well, you did just go downstairs and take your allergy pill. Here's what's coming up today on the show. Steve Peters, he was a former video coach of the Phoenix Coyotes, Arizona Coyotes, if you will. He's going to join us, and we're going to talk to him about, a couple of things, the composition of the Oilers' top 6. I want to ask him, as a guy who obviously made a career out of breaking down film for an NHL team, is it fact or myth that some players are just truly better built for the bottom 6? Or is that's something we're just kind of saying to justify some shitty signings by the Oilers?
Okay.
So I'm excited for that with Petey, again, former Arizona Coyotes video coach. And then at 1 o'clock, former Arizona Coyote David Schlemko will join the show. So we're double yoded up here on a Wednesday and ready to roll. Schlemko, of course, former NHL defenseman, now does some work with Sports 1440. We're going to chat with him a little bit about some of the D-men in Edmonton and how they've been developing along. And also, he was a member of that playoff series back in 2017 when he was a member of the San Jose Sharks. And now that Sharks organization has kind of come full circle. So lots to get to today on the show. You guys in the chat just love talking about Joel so much. And I struggle with this, Liam, because it's so damn funny, but I don't want to give Joel attention.
There's also a really, really good chance Joel just doesn't show up for the show today.
We bullied him
in person.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm not sure if he'll be here. But Joel's not an everyday listener.
No, and he's also not a new listener.
No,
but he pops in and out, like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So the mystery of Joel continues. We'll see what we get today from our old pal, Joel.
We asked him to send in his NHL 26 Oilers roster. I did not receive anything. So
we got breaking news, Liam.
Do we really?
Yeah.
What is it?
Noah Philp is on waivers.
Noah Philp, the former Oiler.
Former Oiler.
So let me get this straight. If somehow, some way...
Jeffrey Epstein, the financier.
Oh, no. So, in all seriousness... Yep. If the Oilers just claimed him again, and they're the only team to put in a claim, they can put him right through the Bakersfield.
Correct, Liam. Ding, ding, ding. So there is a world where Noah Philp ends up as back in the Oilers organization and potentially down to the Bakersfield Condors tomorrow. Noah Philp appeared in 2 games for the Carolina Hurricanes, January 4th and January 6th. He played 10 minutes on one game and 7:38 on the other, and then was healthy scratched for the next 21 days.
What dates?
January 4th and January 6th.
Where was Pete?
Shout out to our friends at What Chaos, Pete, DJ, and Sean.
I thought good organizations didn't put players like Philp on waivers. That's what people were telling me online.
I do still think, in all fairness to that argument, because I was one of those people who said...
Yours was a little bit different, though.
I don't like the idea that that at no point did they ever give Noah Philp, like, a solid 7 straight games of, like, 10 to 12 minutes and see what you got. Lean on him harder on the PK. Like, I just want them to give these young guys or give these more inexperienced guys an opportunity sometimes. And especially at that point in the Oilers season when they were dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. That was kind of my beef with it. Again, in hindsight, it's one of those things that,
Wasn't he one of the injuries, though?
He was. He was hurt for a long time. But yeah, I don't know. He's back on waivers. I would suspect the Oilers are going to throw in a claim on him just to see if they can put him in Bakersfield.
Yeah, and I think too, hey, they're in their experimental phase for third line center right now. They just called up Josh Szymanski.
Yeah.
What's to say they just don't try and do it with Noah Philp?
Yeah, maybe they will. If he was still in the organization, I think it would be maybe fair to think, would he have gotten this look? Although Szymanski, 23, has been playing so well down in Bakersfield. They love what he's been bringing. But this actually does tie into maybe an interesting conversation that I wanted to have today, Liam. Yesterday, there was a listener, if you want to call them that, who was really coming at us hard on Twitter. And not that I want to give this a ton of oxygen, because when you, it's honestly one of the first times in the last handful of months that I've ever engaged in a debate in my Twitter replies. Okay. But someone not misquoted me, but left out a big chunk of the quote yesterday when I said I cowered out of the league in 3 years.
Yeah.
And again, I immediately said right after that was hyperbole, but I just was trying to illustrate the fact that I view Ike Howard as a very boomer bust prospect. I don't think Ike Howard will ever settle into a role. Think of a Kyler Yamamoto, right? Who came here, had some looks in the top 6, was in the Oilers' bottom 6, and it was all right, kind of time to move on.
Yeah.
And he's bounced around and been a 13th forward on some teams now for a few years. He's gone through waivers. He's been in and out of lineups, all of that stuff. But he's carving himself out a career, and he's probably going to play 500 games in the NHL at least by the time all is said and done. He's carved out a good career as a guy who's just learned how to stay in the lineup. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Ike Howard is that kind of a prospect where we're going to look at him 5 years from now and be like, hey, he didn't pan out as the top 6 guy and a first-round pick that we as Oilers fans were hoping that he would pan out into. If that doesn't happen, I don't think we're talking about him being hey, but he's still kicking on the Islanders, right? Playing third-line minutes or whatever. No, I think Ike Howard is either going to reach his full potential or he's not going to be an NHLer for very long. And I don't think that's a totally unfair take. And that's not me shitting on the prospect. If I had to bet right now if Ike Howard's going to pan out or not, I'm still going to bet on him panning out because I think there's a lot of untapped potential here with the guy. But anyway, someone kind of misquoted me and wanted to make it seem like I was shitting on Ike Howard and saying that I think he's going to be out of the league in 3 years. And I don't think that. I just think there's a possibility that he's out of the league faster than a guy like Matt Savoy would be, who I could see going the path of, and this is his floor, but I think Savoy's path is that of a Yamamoto. Where even if things don't go well the next couple of years for Matt Savoy, I think he will always stick around and find a home in the NHL for a number of seasons down the line because he plays well 5-on-5 and he's a good energy guy and PK.
I think Matt Savoy is just a different kind of prospect, isn't he? But he also was that sniper when he was a little bit younger, but had more of a playmaking side of him as well. I guess you could say more well-rounded prospect. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've talked about it. I disagree on the Howard thing, but that's fine. We don't need to get into that. And
I wasn't doing this to bring all that up again.
I know.
I wanted to have a different conversation.
That quote wasn't fair.
And also, to your point on Savoy, there's a reason why he was a 9th overall pick. And Howard was a guy taken almost right at the end of the first round, too, right?
First, yeah.
Yeah. Because one of them was much more well-rounded at a young age. Someone said half the time Tyler is misquoting himself. Sure. Anyways, this led to another very funny conversation, I thought, in our replies, which was someone saying that they have the receipts from you and I. And it was, you guys do casually toss out bad takes on your show, though. First off, no shit, man. If we were 100% right and every take we had was gold, Liam and I would be running an NHL team, not sitting here. Mm-hmm. Instead, I do 4 to 5 podcasts a day. Liam works for a WHL team. And his hit rate's good.
It's not bad. There's a few players. 15 wins in a row.
V's win again.
Yeah, they won again.
What do you do when the V's win? Do you go V's up?
My dad texts me and he says, go V's.
Out of way. So anyways, this guy goes, you guys do casually toss out bad takes on your show, though. Everyone does. I have the receipts from Liam about Quinn Hutson. Sometimes it's better to just go with having there we go. With having a positive outlook on prospects instead of suggesting meh all the time. It is also not our job as two guys who are paid full-time employment to host this show. What?
Nothing. Carry on.
You can't use that. You can't do that. It is our job as two guys who host this show and are paid to do so. we aren't just going to sit here and go, all right, Liam, let's read through the Bakersfield Condors roster. Marhala, top 6 guy in 2 years. Szymanski, 20-goal upside. Quinn Hutson might be a Selke finalist one day. Like, it's not our job here just to like randomly gas up Oilers prospects because we want to feel good and we want everybody online to like us and think we never say anything bad about anybody who's wearing orange and blue, whether it's at the NHL or AHL level. But then I remembered what our takes were on Quinn Hutson before this year. And it was, and I agreed with you. So I'm going down with you, buddy.
All right. I'm not going down anyway. Yeah,
exactly.
We're still floating.
Our take on Quinn Hutson was that his ceiling might be a tweener. That might be what Quinn Hutson ends up being. And here's a fun one. Despite the fact Quinn Hutson is having an awesome first year of pro hockey, keep in mind he is 23 years old. This is not a 19-year-old stepping into pro hockey. Now. He's 24 years old. Thank you very much, Liam. He is 24 years old. This is not a guy who is 19, stepping out of junior, and oh my God, he's dominating in a league against men. Like Quinn Hutson is 24 years old. Has this season so far been a massive positive step for Quinn Hutson? Absolutely it has been. Do I view him differently as a prospect than I did 3 months ago? Yes. But to act like our take of him potentially just being a tweener is so hilariously and hysterically wrong after 4 months of him being a tweener and going in between the NHL and AHL. To act like that is so laughably wrong, I just think that in itself is laughable.
I think, too, for people who have kept receipts, you would also find the receipts of us being like, you know what, he's playing really well.
Yep.
Like, and he deserves this call up. And when he's coming to Edmonton, I think he's played good
Like
hockey.
him. Yep.
We gave him the Ty Ratty Award.
We probably did. I just think too, like, look, none of us are these experts on these prospects. Like, I think there's obviously ebbs and flows. I'm sure you can also find stuff of all of us being incredibly disappointed in Bo Akey, but then all of a sudden he's found his game out of nowhere. And he lost 9 teeth. Puck came over and hit him on the bench, and he lost 9. Back of his throat, by the sounds of it. Awesome. So he lost 9 teeth. He's out for a while. Yeah, it is what it is. I just think that, like, is it a bad take, or did you just disagree?
Well, that too,
You
right?
know what I mean? Like,
and this is now just like a conversation about like generally being in debates on the internet, but like you can never just sit there and be like, that guy had a bad read, got it wrong, or like, I disagree with that opinion. Like, it needs to go to the whatever side of things where it's like, you're an idiot. You guys always throw out bad takes. And
I liked the quote that you always say of Low Tide, that like
development's not a straight line.
Yeah, and it's just like there's ebbs and flows in it. And Quinn Hudson's taken to pro hockey like a fish in water. It's just worked for him.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can take a step to the NHL level. Like, obviously it would be great if they could, and the Oilers see that. They signed him to a 2-year deal. I think it's good. I think it's good that he is looking like he could prove people wrong. That's a positive.
And McDow's here, the great one. I'm pretty sure you had the prospect expert, Stephen Ellis, on, and that's why you had that initial impression. Ding, ding, ding. It's not like you and I mean, listen, we watch Oilers games and things of that nature, but it's not like you and I just wake up, spin a wheel, and are like, I wonder what my take today on Quinn Hudson's going to be. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, he's going to suck. Okay, I'm going to go like,
I'm all in on that.
Again, we like to have informed conversations, and also the number one rule of broadcasting, podcasting is have a take and don't suck. If I just sat here and every time we had a conversation about prospects or whatever, I just went, oh, golly, I don't know, but I think Quinn Hutson will score 30 for the Oilers one day. Like, show wouldn't be all that successful, everybody. So that's kind of the end of my rant. I also thought it was funny when that guy on Twitter was like, you can't compare him to Tyler Benson, and I know they're different because they came in to play pro hockey at different ages and all of that stuff. But he's like, you can't compare Benson to Hutson because Benson didn't come from the bloodline that Quinn Hutson does. He's not going to sit there and like fail as an NHLer while his 2 brothers succeed. And my response was, well, then surely Jared Stahl had like a Hall of Fame level career in the NHL, right?
I mean, Tyler Benson, to be fair, his brother grinded out a good WHL career, Cole.
Yep.
He's a solid Oil King.
Shout out to the Oil Kings. Lance has a good one. If you don't have a bad take, then you aren't trying to have a good take.
Wow.
And I think he just means like if you aren't swinging, right?
You're missing.
Yeah, sometimes you strike out, but at least stick the bat off your shoulder.
That's fine.
And that's just life motivation right there.
I said the Oilers would beat Dallas in 5 last year.
Nailed it.
Nailed that one. People weren't happy with it.
What have
Same with Cam McDavid from
Yeah.
Naheem. Well, Devil Kid said Gretzky had a brother. Well, they're the most points by brothers, Keith and Wayne.
And, well, Cam never made it to the NHL, but Keith, or was it Keith?
Keith played a game.
Oh, yeah. It was one game or whatever, right?
Never scored a point.
Yeah.
They have the most points combined because Wayne has them all.
All right.
I never played in the NHL. Either way.
Based Ivy, Tyler Benson over McDavid's 50-goal winger in Erie will forever haunt me. Yeah, them passing on to DeBrincat.
Yeah, he was a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be together in a few years when McDavid goes to Detroit, of course.
I love that we're 2.5 years away from him being a free agent, and the same outlets that were doing those conversations for the last number of years. And listen, I love Spit and Chicklets, but like the amount of times they put out clips of McDavid going somewhere else is ridiculous.
It is a bit much.
And they've been wrong on every single occasion. And I love those guys. We love wit. We love wit very much. But that is one critique I will have. Not that I'm in a position to critique the number one hockey podcast in the world, but my one critique is they talk way too much about McDavid leaving.
As number 72, surely we can have an impact on the debate.
You think we're higher than 72?
Probably. I don't know. In the world?
In like the world of hockey podcasts, if you were to look at views and downloads, we're definitely top 50.
I think top 50 for sure.
For sure.
Okay, 49.
Let's
With
go.
Ty Emerson.
Chest out, boys.
Still
Chest
getting
out.
our ass kicked by McAfee, though.
Yeah, what's McAfee at today?
Every day, belt to ass, McAfee just smokes us.
He's at 15K right now.
And that's an inside joke that even the listeners aren't even. They just hear it and they don't even know what we're talking about.
Someone asked, just while we're on the prospect debate, Kimchi asked how the Russian prospects are doing in the KHL. I'm terrible with names. Maybe you can correct me. Maxim Boriskin. I think I actually nailed that one. His numbers have got a little bit better, but he's struggling to score still. The coach, Bob Hartley, ruined it all for him. They have the other kid, too, Nikita Yevashev. I like him. He can skate.
Yevseyev or whatever?
Yeah, his offense has got a little bit better. We'll see. He might come over in a year or two.
It was Brent Gretzky, not Keith.
My apologies.
4 points in 13 games.
Sorry, Keith.
Sorry, Keith. And sorry for shitting on all the Condors prospects as well. Keith, we're having a bad...
Keith, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, Keith, we do love you. And if you're listening, you're welcome on the show anytime.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Well, we'd welcome you on. Your employer wouldn't. And on that note, let's get into some of our trade talk for today, Liam. Our trade talk is brought to you by Hurley and Levelware. Golf is having a moment right now, and not just in the traditional sense. What used to feel buttoned up has opened into something way more cultural. That shift is exactly where the Hurley with Levelware collaboration comes in. Hurley brings that laid-back board sports energy, and the collection pulls inspiration from Hawaiian and coastal prints. Relaxed, expressive, and rooted in lifestyle, Levelware takes that inspiration and brings it to life through performance-driven, sustainably made apparel that's actually built to move and play. The result is the Fairwaves collection, modern golf silhouettes that feel lighter, more wearable, and less rigid. It's respectful of the game's roots, but definitely not stuck in tradition. The collection is live and available on Levelware's website. If you want to shop, go to levelware.com. Check out the polos, hoodies, hats, and casuals. Some fresh golf gear. No one's ever complained about that. That's a great gift for people, too. Everyone loves a new, quarter zip. Quarter zips are having a moment right now. We're a big quarter zip show. All right, some trade, some rumor talk, I guess we'll call it.
It's too much.
Okay, rewind for 2 seconds. We're not going to do trade rumors. We're going to start with a different kind of rumor, Liam.
Contract rumors.
A contract rumor. Yesterday, Bob Stauffer on his show speculating about the idea of Jack Roslovic potentially signing an extension. We don't have a direct quote, but from everything we heard online with the aggregators, somewhere in the 4-year, $4 million range or slightly higher is what Bob said. My question to you, Liam, if there was a 4x4 on the table right now, if Jack Roslovic said, Edmonton, I will extend 4x4, would you do it?
Yeah. I would do it. I think that Roslovic has been a pretty decent fit here. He's also been willing to go down and play on the fourth line and kind of drive it.
Yeah.
I think when you put him alongside Draisaitl, his numbers look a little worse right now. His production, I should say, not necessarily numbers, because he's not playing with the big guys. But I think we all know the upside is that more with Roslovic than a Kapanen on Draisaitl's line. It just kind of spreads it out a bit more when Kapanen's up there. And he's been playing well too. Not to discredit him. So, yeah, if you can get Roslovic for $4 million for 4 more years based on how the salary cap is going up, why would you not do that? He's a top 6 forward. Draisaitl's wingers might combine for $7 million next year.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So let's keep this conversation going a little bit because I'm with you. 4x4, if it's on the table right now, I am in. What if it was 4x5?
I think I probably would still do it.
You'd still do it? You wouldn't be at all tempted to like wait till after the playoffs if the number gets close to 5 like that?
No, I wouldn't. Well, who would even be available this summer? I feel like we always get to these summers and it's like, well, we missed out on Connor Brown, for example, last year. And you're like, well, we'll get Mangiapane. And it's like, was the grass greener? No. And you paid Mangiapane a little bit more. Age is always a factor, sure. But Roslovic's not an old player. What is he, 28? Mm-hmm. I'd be more than willing to do that.
Would you go any higher than 4x5, or is that your line?
I mean, I said 6 at the start of the season. I'd probably still be willing to go as high as that, but I mean, it wouldn't work out the same. I'd probably do it less years. But if you get into 6, then I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that
because
today.
Even if he has a great postseason, I don't ever see that number getting higher than 6.
No, me neither.
And what's interesting, and people pointed it out, Roslovic's production typically does fall off in the back half of the year. And this is a guy who, remember, he led the Carolina Hurricanes in playoff scoring. Then didn't he like get healthy scratched for playoff games?
Playoff games, yeah.
Like, I do think there is a little bit of buyer beware there. This is a guy who traditionally, when the games get tougher, his production falls off quite significantly. So there is some concern on that front for me that if you were to go commit 4x4.5, 4x5 million, I agree that 4x4, that's a great deal. You do that if he's willing to sign it right now. But if you're getting into the $4.5, $5 million range, I want to see what kind of playoff performer he is.
I do too. And I know there's obviously that fear. I think that you look at someone like Jordan Eberle, who the Oilers literally traded because he was a poor playoff performer. He goes to New York, does pretty well in the playoffs.
Was an unreal playoff player.
Yeah, 9 points in 8 games for them, 14 points, 22 games, 11 points, 19 games, and had that really good run when the Kraken made it to the second round a couple of years ago, 11 points in 14 games. Clearly just secondary scoring numbers, but if you can get anything like that out of Jack Roslovic, then I think you're happy. And again, like, he's still after a poor performance in New Carolina, 4 points, 9 games, not great, not good, obviously. 8 points, 16 games for the New York Rangers the year before, too.
Yeah.
If you're signing this guy next to Draisaitl, we all know how good Draisaitl is. He's proven he can finish. I think I would pay him.
So one interesting thing is talking about his production falling off. So since January 1, he only has 3 goals in 13 games. Sorry, 2 goals in 13 games.
2 came in the same game.
Yeah, he's had the 2-goal game, and that's kind of it. He's been a little bit quiet ever since. I do think what's important to remember is 2 goals in 13 games is, and keep in mind, both of those goals were at even strength. 2 goals in 13 games. If you do that for a full season, you finish the year with 14 even strength goals. Getting to 14 even strength goals when he's not playing with Connor and he's not playing with Leon, right? He's kind of been on his own on that third line. I shouldn't say on his own. He's playing with the kids on the third line right now. And that comes with a different level of responsibility. And I think it can be expected his production will fall off a little bit. But like, if he's going to sit there and score twice every 13 games playing on the third line, and you have a third liner who's getting you 14 even strength goals, like, I'm not really going to complain about that all that much, especially because he has that one-shot ability and he's not a total drag at 5-on-5. And I know people might say, like, Tyler, you're talking out of 2 sides of your mouth here because you're pissed off at Mangiapane, and he's a guy who's on pace for 10 even strength goals on the season. But I do think that by watching Mangiapane when he's on the third line and when watching Roslovic on the third line, you can tell which guy is much better at creating offense.
Yeah, I would agree. I would be looking to add to this lineup. Yeah. Continuously, not subtract from this lineup. And I think if you lost Roslovic, you'd just be looking for Roslovic.
It's a good point. He has 14 goals in 41 games this year. And again, this is a point you and I hammer home a lot, is like 20 to 25 goal scorers. Heck, borderline 30 goal scorers. They are not doing it by exactly scoring 1 goal every 2 to 3 games.
Yeah.
They get hot, they get cold. The production comes in and out, and that's exactly what Jack Roslovic is. He started off sluggish with the Edmonton Oilers, got hot as a firecracker for 2 weeks. Now he's cooled off for a couple of weeks. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if, maybe it's not before this Olympic break, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out of the Olympic break and is hot as a firecracker and scores 7 goals in 12 games, and all of a sudden the pace looks amazing again. Like, I think we just have to remember that, especially guys who so much of their success comes from the numbers and the production that they get, for him to have ebbs and flows to his game, that's expected.
It's also $4 million.
Well, yeah, you're not throwing 7 at him.
It's not really anything in today's NHL, and I think that needs to be a factor of it. It's a middle six forward.
Counterpoint, though, is like you do still need to be careful about handing those out, because if you just shrug and say, it's $3 to $4 million, you end up with Trent Fredericks.
But you have a larger sample size for Roslovic.
You do. And that's why, again, I think the point, I wanted to say it, but it's not all that applicable when we're talking about a guy like Roslovic. So
he would be the 5th highest paid forward on the Oilers next season if he got $4 million.
Before we get one more rumor here for levelware, before we get to PD. The Toronto Maple Leafs are a shit show.
Thank God.
8 points out of a playoff spot. They lost to Buffalo last night. They can't defend. They have 1 win in their last 8 games. It's not good. The idea that they could potentially be ready to sell has a lot of Oilers fans and some Oilers media members, our very own Bob Stauffer. I say our very own just because we claim him as a fan base, not because we work with him.
Well, he moved his show.
We're the noon slot now. I shouldn't say that. Bob will be mad. But it's led to people like Bob, who's very plugged in. And if Bob is throwing a name out there, like everyone's ears perk up and listen because it's Bob. Bobby McMann, $1.35 million, 29 years old, pending UFA. He's having a good year with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is not quite a guy who's just had one good season. 17 goals in 52 games, with 15 of those goals coming at even strength, by the way, Liam. Last year, he had 20 goals in 74 games. The year before that, 15 goals in 56 games. These are very impressive boxcars. This is a guy born in Wainwright, Alberta, has family in the area. Reason to believe that if you were to acquire him, you could probably get him signed to a pretty nice contract as well. But a late bloomer who, since he's come to the NHL, has done nothing but score at 5-on-5, I might add, at a very, very impressive rate. If he's available, would you be interested? And what do you think it could take to get him?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're looking.
You have to call.
He gets paid nothing.
Yeah.
So I looked through, and it's kind of hard to find comparisons totally to him because of how low his cap hit is and how productive he is. But the two I found, which I thought was somewhat close, Blake Coleman was a big one a few years ago.
Okay.
He had an extra year on his deal, but he was $1.8 million that season. He had 21 goals with the New Jersey Devils and 31 points.
So if he went for a first rounder and Nolan Foote, but he had an extra year, would it be safe to say that a comparable deal might be Bo Akey and a second round pick?
Well, the second deal might give us a bit more clarity because the cap's a little bit lower, but these two deals, he's probably somewhere in the middle here. Fabian Zetterlund last season to Ottawa. He had 1 year left on his deal, was a pending UFA, $1.45 million. He was 25. He had 17 goals, 36 points at the time of the trade. He was traded for Noah Gregor. Is it Zachary Sapchuk, I think, is his name?
Yep.
As a second round pick. So maybe it is. Maybe it is just someone like maybe it's like a second round pick and a Bo Akey, for example. I saw people there was a Leafs fan account that posted some stuff like, what would you want? And once I got around we need Savoy and Howard in the deal, someone put out there is like, if we got the Kiefer Sherwood deal, I think most people would be happy, which was 2 second round picks.
Yeah. And I think I would, especially if you're the Oilers and you think there's a chance like he could be a fit and you can sign him, I would do that deal.
I'd give up a first for him.
You would give up a first pure rental for Bobby McMann?
If I knew there was an extension coming, I'd have no hesitation. Yeah. I might do something like a conditional first, for example.
Or I'd want to know like what the extension looks like. Like if he's sitting there going, I'm cashing in and getting Kiefer Sherwood $5 to $6 million in the summer, I maybe put my hand up and go like, whoa, I'm good. Yeah. But if he sits there and says, hey, I'll sign for 4x4. Okay, then again, a guy who can score at that rate at 5-on-5, who brings some jam to your lineup, who's shown he can play up and down a lineup. Someone said he's softer than butter. I don't get that at all.
Didn't he fight Nikita Zadorov?
I think so.
Zadorov, whatever his name is. I don't think he's soft as butter. He's like a hard block of butter that you've been kept in the fridge for 3 weeks.
We're not a butter household.
No?
We're a margarine household.
Margarine? Can't believe
yes, he did, Liam. Yes, he did.
He did.
Yeah,
He's been in 3 career fights.
All right.
Shout out hockeyfights.com.
Coming up on 12:30. So shall we get to our first guest of the day?
Sure.
It's an all Arizona edition of the show as we go out to our guest line, which is brought to you by Oodle Noodle. You can download the Oodle Noodle app today. Also, take advantage of the value menu deal. 2 green onion cakes, 5 spring rolls, or 6 wontons added to your order for just $2. Any signature or premium dish in-store and takeout only. OodleNoodle.ca. as we welcome in Steve Peters, former Arizona Coyotes video coach, also from inside the coach's room. If you want to find more of his work on YouTube, Petey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. A little grumpy edge to the Oiler Nation today.
Liam and I are
a little feedback there, Ty.
Yeah, I think we got that sorted out now. We're good. All right. Okay. Let's jump into things here. There's a whole bunch of different areas we want to talk about. We want to take a bigger picture look at the Pacific Division. But one thing that is working right now for the Edmonton Oilers is the way they have their top six kind of thrown together. And, it's Connor with Nugent Hyman. That's one of the better lines in hockey. It's a set it and forget it line for Chris Knobloch. But it's been interesting to watch over the last couple of years. And this is a long-winded question, but Leon Draisaitl's found success when they elevate Podkolzin, when they elevate Kapanen. And there's other examples in the past of guys like Yamamoto who get popped up and have success with them. Why is it that Leon finds a way to have success with these worker bees, whereas Connor usually doesn't?
It's funny because I think part of what makes him so good at that is Draisaitl is also a worker bee. He's a stationary playmaker. He's going to be a guy that can get to the net. He's going to score from strange angles, and he can protect the puck a long time, which allows those bottom six forwards and pluggers and guys that get in on the forecheck time to get to their positions. I think his game is a very good marriage with those guys that play that bottom six style, in on the forecheck, straight ahead, know to go to the net hard. With McDavid, man, you better have a high IQ and you better play with a great pace, man. He could, because of his anticipation to places where he is going to want the puck, you better have players with him that know how to anticipate that and better be able to keep up with the pace of McDavid. And I think that's why McDavid struggles a little bit with the straight ahead forechecker guys that are crashing the net. I think he needs guys that understand where he's going to be, that can anticipate that, and that can play with the pace like that. And you're looking at a top end high forward for McDavid to be able to do those kind of things.
So there's something that's going on in Edmonton now, and they are looking for a player that wants to, what is it, the style of play that will play in a bottom six and not be upset about it. So is it a fact or a myth that some players are simply just better suited to play in the bottom six?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think there's guys that can accept that role. I think it's funny, and I'll bring this up. We went to with Team North America back in the day, back in 2016. Jack Eichel started off on the third line. Dude was not happy being in a bottom six role, even though it was the best players literally in the world. Couldn't handle that role. And until he was elevated to play with the top six, you started to see his ability to play. Without question, there are players that excel in that role. Again, because they know what they need to do when they get over the ice. It's a role-specific job. They're forechecking. They're killing penalties. They're going to start more in the defensive zone. They're going to play more physical. It's more north-south. All of those things fit into certain players' style of play. And yes, if you can be a very good bottom six player, not only can you have a long career, you can have a high-paying career, and you can win if you're very good and you can accept your role in that bottom six spot.
Yeah, and again, we kind of made the joke at the beginning of is that something the Oilers organization is putting out because they are truly going to go find good bottom six players, or are they using that because Mangiapane hasn't worked and Trent Frederic continues to kind of sludge and struggle along this season? I was sitting there going well, Frederic was in the Bruins bottom six and he was playing well, and Mangiapane was in the Capitals bottom six and he found a way to pop home. I think it was 14 goals playing with Lars Eller. Are the Oilers saying that these guys aren't actually fit for bottom six roles, or are they just using this narrative to kind of justify shitty signings?
And I don't know if they're bottom six forwards for the Edmonton Oilers and the way they play. When you look at the Boston Bruins teams that wins those battles 50-50 along the wall and try to crash to the net. The Oilers don't play like that. The Oilers try to get the puck up the ice quick, and they try to play with speed and pace. So they expect their bottom six forwards, not only do they have to be able to defend and be a little bit gritty, but they do have to play with some certainty of pace. And I do think that makes a difference in how you define that bottom six role by team, is the style of hockey that they're trying to play. And I think that makes it more difficult to play in the Oilers' bottom six because of the anticipation and expectation of playing with pace. But you saw that in the playoffs last season, where their bottom six were able to pin teams in, were able to stay on top of the forecheck. And I do think that you need to have your bottom six forwards able to provide that role, at least to get off the ice even if you're going to go a long way in the playoffs. And you can go back to Lucierainen with Lundell and Marchand. They win the cup because of the bottom six forwards that the Florida Panthers have. And so that's how important it is for Edmonton. They just have to find the guys that can play with that pace. I still like Mangiapane in that role. I think Jack Roslovic, who you talked about it at length on this show, he's another guy that can continue to play with pace, but he can still accept that bottom six role. Those are the kind of players I do think that you're going to need to fill out with the bottom six in Edmonton.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's been a bit of speculation coming out of Toronto if they blow it up, if they continue to do whatever they're trying to do. And we talked about Bobby McMann. Do you see someone like Bobby McMann as a fit on this Oilers team?
Yeah, yes, but I'm still of the belief that I have a hard time believing the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to sell anybody.
Me too.
I mean, I think they're ride or die. They're hanging on by their fingernails before they give up on this team. So I don't think that's going to happen. But if the Oilers could add a player like Bobby McMann, yeah, I mean, absolutely, he's a guy that can do a lot of different things that right now they don't have guys in the roster that can do that. And so, yes, you take him all day long. I just don't think that's going to happen in Toronto.
Yeah, I feel like the Leafs might.
They just can't. Like, they're just one of those teams who's like just can't turn to their fan base and Matthews and Nylander and be like, hey guys, we're done for the year.
The only way I can see a guy like McMahon shaking loose is if the Leafs sit there and go like, okay, we can get 2 second-round picks for him. Then they're going to turn around and trade a second-round pick for someone else. And like maybe they just try to use the old adage of shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic a little bit here and see if that fixes it.
Yep, and I think that you're absolutely right, because they're not going to sacrifice today for the future. No chance. I mean, that's not going to happen in Toronto. They can't. They'll be ridden out of town with pitchforks. So I do think if you do see a deal like that, it will be to flip something to get a player right now. They have to find a way to make the playoffs. I just don't know if they're running out of runway.
I like a line you said there about building a bottom six that kind of lines up a bit more with how Edmonton wants to play and how they stylistically go about the game. And maybe while the Oilers have had some pretty bad whiffs now on the forward front of guys who just aren't fitting in, or at least they're just having bad starts to the season, on the blue line, I actually give the Oilers a lot of credit, PD, for they seem to actually be pretty good at staying the course of building a blue line that lines up with how they play. Like Jake Wallman is a good puck mover. When they moved on from Brett Kulak, they went and got Spencer Stastny, who just skates really well. Like this sort of modern way to build a blue line isn't doing. And hey, this ties Toronto into it too, because they kind of just got a bunch of guys who were rough, tumble, hard-nosed D-men, and it turns out, well, they couldn't get their star players the puck. And now their blue line, everyone looks at it and goes, well, the blue line's still broken, even though you spent all these assets trying to fix it. But I do applaud the Oilers for like Stastny, Wallman, even Emberson, guys who just play a little bit of a quicker style of game.
Yeah, there's no doubt that to win in the National Hockey League right now, you need quick puck moving defensemen. And just go to the stats, because you can go to the NHL right now and see the teams that are scoring, the top 10 teams by points by defensemen. 70% of those teams are in the playoffs. You go to the bottom, and the bottom 10 of points by defensemen, only 3 of those teams are in the playoffs. You need to be able to play with pace. And I know this is no longer the 80s and 90s where a guy whacking and hacking in front of the net can help you get over and win games. Now ideally, you have a little bit of both. I think you need 3 or 4 really quick puck-moving defensemen. It'd be great if you had a guy standing in front of the net in your bottom pair that could do some of that dirty work down in front of the net and down in the corners. But without a doubt, this league right now is based on defensemen that can move the puck up the ice quick and that can provide offense. And you go to Tampa, Carolina, Detroit, Buffalo, Colorado, Minnesota, Dallas, top 8 teams in the league. They all have one thing in common. They got defensemen that can get up the ice and generate quickly on offense, and they can distribute the puck extremely well. If you don't have it, you're not winning this season.
We just saw them play the other day, but the Anaheim Ducks, obviously their 7-game win streak just ended. Do you see them as like a legit team if they were to make the playoffs that could cause a bit of damage and maybe an upset?
Honestly, no. And I know people aren't going to like this. People aren't going to like this because this is a streaky team. You just said it. They lost 9 straight. Then they win 7 straight. Now they've lost 1. I'm just not quite sure if they're ready. With injuries to Carlson and Troy Terry and McTavish right now is day to day, I think you're going to see those ebbs and flows. The last 8 games, they're scoring. They've got 3+ and 6 of 8. But this is a team that can't keep the puck out of their net. They're 31st in goals against, -16 and 5-on-5 goal differential. differential. Their special teams are bottom third in both PP and PK. I just don't think they're ready. I think this was a huge step. They're taking a big stride over last season. I think Quenneville has really turned this group around, has them believing and winning. And you got Kreider and Granlund and Trouba bringing them some leadership in that room. I just don't think they're ready. And I do think this is going to be an exceptional team in the next 2 to 3 years that will be competing for a Stanley Cup, not just a playoff team. But if this team squeaks into the playoffs, and they might, just because of the way the Pacific Division is going right now, they might squeak in. But they're going to have to face the Colorado Avalanche and or Edmonton Vegas. Not a good recipe for Anaheim right now. For a team that can't keep the puck out of the net to play against high-powered offenses like that, I think if they squeak in, it's a one and done for Anaheim right now.
Yeah, I kind of get that vibe too. You're right. They've just been a little bit too up and down. There's been a little bit of a narrative of maybe not quite in Edmonton, but around the league of like, oh man, the Oilers are lucky that the Pacific Division is so garbage. And I saw you sent me some of the research you've done, but like 5 of the bottom 10 teams in 5-on-5 goal differential reside in the Pacific Division. So is it true that the Pacific Division just sucks?
Yeah, it's a down year for the Pacific Division, and this is the way hockey goes. Like right now, the Atlantic right now is buzzing. They've got some really good teams. Not saying the Pacific, top end of the Pacific is good. Vegas is a very good team. Edmonton's a very good team. Both teams have the potential to win the Western Conference. I think when you start looking at the depth, I think there's teams that really struggle. The LA Kings is a team that I really expected good things out of this season, and they've struggled immensely. This is a team that might not make the playoffs. I think they make a coaching change if they don't make it. And then you've got teams like San Jose and Anaheim that are probably just a little bit ahead of the curve, that you're starting to see what they hoped to be when they got through the rebuilds. They're just not there yet. So I think the youth that you're seeing in those two teams, it's going to make the Pacific an extremely strong division, probably next year, the year after, and the year after. But right now, it's the only one of the 4 divisions right now that is really struggling against the other divisions. They're 168 and 204 when you put in overtime losses and combine them with regulation losses. They're way upside down. And you know what? It's cyclical. They'll come back, like I said, when these younger teams start to really make a push.
It's interesting you talk about that scoring by D, and I'm just looking at the sheet here. LA 32nd, and like, oh man, you talk about how this Oilers blue line, kind of since Stan Bowman has taken over, has gone to like a younger, faster puck-moving approach versus when Ken Holland was here, and you look at that blue line in LA, his fingerprints are all over it with the money he spent this summer. That is a blue line that has 1.5 puck movers on it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's funny when they made those changes to the LA defense, I was curious to see why they went older and slower. I don't think that was a good move for the LA Kings. Again, it's a team that's still trying to play. We use that word all the time, playing fast and playing with pace. LA's trying to, but when you can't get the puck up quickly and you put in 2 older defenders this season, good defenseman. I'm not criticizing CC on the back end. I'm just saying he is not one of the guys that you think of fleet of foot getting the puck up the ice. So I do think that's one of the reasons this team has suffered this season. And I do think that's one of the reasons the Edmonton Oilers got through the little trouble at the start, and they are who they are now. The Edmonton Oilers are playing the same hockey they played a year ago. Don't worry, Oilers.
And what kind of hockey that is too. Like, I know the last game, at least the last couple of games, they've done a good job of scoring off the rush, but like, as much as everyone looks at a team with Connor and Leon and goes like, oh, they win their games because they get, a whole bunch of breakaways and 2-on-1s. Like, the Oilers survive and the Oilers thrive in the playoffs because they smother you with their cycle and you just don't have the puck enough to win the game.
Yeah, and that's why they won. That's why they got to the Stanley Cup final last year. It's funny because we said early, hey, they're just going to try to outrun and gun teams. And by the end of round 1, you're going, oh my gosh, this team can defend. And they can hem you into your defensive zone and stay on top of you and not let you out. Like, that's not an Edmonton Oilers style. We were, hey, let's run and gun. Let's get the 2-on-1. Let's score. By the end of that playoffs against the Florida Panthers, like, they were defending. They were defending through the blue lines, and they were staying on top of teams and smothering them in the offensive zone. Not an Edmonton Oilers style. You saw them quick on the forecheck. You saw them extended periods of time along the walls, getting the puck off the wall and getting an offensive opportunity. And I think when you saw that shift in the Oilers, that's when you go, oh my goodness, this team could actually win a Stanley Cup this year. When you looked at the first round, you go, well, they're fun. They're going to score, but they're going to run into Dallas. They're going to run into Colorado. They can't compete with those teams because they play an all-around game. And I think that's one of the hallmarks of what made Edmonton better last year is their ability to play on the defensive side of the puck.
Obviously, they had to pull him in the game against Washington, but what have your early impressions been of Connor Ingram? And I say early, but he's now been up with the team for the better part of a month here. What have you made of Connor Ingram getting another shot in the NHL?
It's funny. Like, we had Connor Ingram here in the Arizona-Utah organization. I am a huge fan. And when the year before he left here, he was going to be an all-star that year. His numbers were elite. And then, as we all know, there were some issues away from the rink that he needed to take care of. He's a guy you root for. Teammates love him. He's a steady guy that you can't tell if you're up by 10 or down by 10. He's going to play the same way. He's a very calm, even-keel guy. I really like him. And when you look at his numbers right now for the Oil, you're 5-3-1 with a 909 and a 240. I'm confident that he could win games for them. I really am. And it's unfortunate, Ty, that we're sitting here another year going, what about the Oilers goaltending? Like, someday that narrative will stop. Unfortunately, it's not right now.
Yeah, I mean, they shuffled things around, and Ingram's been really good. Jari, again, like he's been good, and he was real sharp against Anaheim earlier this week, but I still wonder if he's, still a bit of a volatile goalie. But I will say this, Petey, like, even if you view Jari as like a little up and down, similar to Stuart Skinner, if Ingram's your upgrade on Pickard, there's no denying that Ingram not only has a higher ceiling, but he has a much higher floor as well. Like, I actually think Ingram might be the perfect goalie to pair with Jari in this duo.
I do too. And one thing about Connor Ingram, I said this before when you and I talked preseason, when he got the opportunity to become part of the Oilers organization, he can be okay in that backup role, and he could play behind Vejmelka in Arizona. He might play one every 5. And you go, oh, that 5th game, he was great and he got a win. And that's what you need from your backup. If you can call him a backup right now, it's 1A, 1B for me there. He is an upgrade over Pickard. And I know Pickard's well loved. Another player that played here in Arizona, extremely good teammate. One of the best teammates that I've ever seen in a locker room in Arizona was Calvin Pickard. But you also have to be able to stop the puck. And I think if I have to put one of those two goalies out in the net tomorrow to get a win, I'm putting Connor Ingram in. And so I do think this tandem, you might see a situation at Edmonton once the playoffs start that it might be Jari game 1, but it might be Ingram game 2. And I do think the Edmonton Oilers have to be prepared, and they have shown that in the past with the injury to Skinner. You have to be prepared to run both of these guys out. I think they're going to need both if they're going to make it any length of time in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I guess another guy who you would have worked with, David Schlemko. I was just, again, he's in Edmonton now. He's doing some media. It's just total coincidence that we have you guys on the same day. But, man, what an interesting career he had. Hey, to go from undrafted, he was playing with the Arizona Sundogs for a year. And then, I mean, less than a year after that, he was up in the NHL.
He's an unbelievable kid, and he's not a kid anymore. That's how old I am. But the Arizona Sundogs are a team that plays in Prescott, Arizona. There's no airport, can't get there from here. That kind of a league in the Central Hockey League, and he finds his way to the National Hockey League, and he does it by playing the right way. I mean, he's not going to dazzle you with points. He's not a big offensive guy. He's not a big defensive guy. He just does the details of the game right. I think he's another guy that's well liked. He's a good person. He works hard, and you know what you're going to get when you throw him over the boards. And in Arizona, that's kind of defenseman he needed. Throw him over the boards. You know what you're going to get. You're safe and secure. And to see him get through the National Hockey League and play over 400 games, that's absolutely incredible. So hats out. Make sure you say hi to him. But I know we're getting ready to sign off, and I have to say something, Ty, to a conversation you guys had prior to this when you were talking about the Bakersfield Condors and how you were grading prospects and everybody's hot on the Bakersfield Condors. In the last decade, since 2016-17, at the end of the season, the top 3 goal scorers for the Bakersfield Condors over the last 10 years, Ty, how many of those players became everyday players for the Edmonton Oilers? Top 3 points for the Bakersfield Condors over the last decade, how many of them became everyday players for the Edmonton Oilers?
So, I mean, the names who we know are going to be there are Josh Curry, Cooper Marody, Tyler Benson,
Andrew Miller, of course,
Joseph Gambardella, I'm going to say maybe
Seth Griffith.
Yeah, I'm honestly going to say 0 because I feel like the ones who eventually get called up are like gone. Brian McLeod, for example. Like he plays in the he gets to the NHL.
Bush might have been there once.
Okay, I'll say 1.
Bush in 1920 behind Curry and Bedsant. So that he finishes 3rd in 1920, becomes an everyday player. And give you a little bit of a hint, there's only one more. And he did it in 24-25 where he finished 2nd behind Seth Griffith.
Savoy.
Matthew Savoy.
Yeah,
so when you talk about prospects and what they're doing in Bakersfield, just temper it a little bit. Like it's not always about the guys that are getting the most points. It's not always the guys that are playing best in that situation. Kyle Capobianco is a player that was an all-star for the Arizona franchise down in Tucson, couldn't translate to the NHL. Now I know he's getting some touches now in the NHL, but just because you're great in the AHL doesn't mean you're going to be great in the NHL. And just because you're a bottom 6-4 in the American League doesn't mean you can't play in the National Hockey League. So be very careful of how you weigh players in the American Hockey League. Thanks.
I always kind of say, like, especially, and that's a good conversation to have at around trade deadline time when you're on Twitter and fan bases are throwing mock trades back and forth, and every fan base thinks their prospects are worth so much, and every other team sits there and goes, I'm not trading you my best rental winger for a prospect I've never heard of. Like, I always think it's funny. Every fan base, every organization has a handful of prospects they love, and most of the other organizations look at them and go, we got a few exactly like them.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it, Ty.
All right, Petey, we appreciate your time. As always, thank you for popping on. And again, we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Liam. Thanks, Ty. See you soon.
So yeah,
Steve Peters inside the coach's room on YouTube. If you want to get more of his breakdowns, again, he's a former video coach. He does stuff with ESPN now, but on his YouTube, he's always doing a bunch of really, really good breakdowns of film and things like that. So go check it out inside the coach's room on YouTube. We got a couple of minutes here to kill before our pal David Schlemko joins us. I call him pal. It's his first time on the show, Liam.
I was on the big program once, and David was on there.
Did he ask you any hard-hitting questions?
No, just Kevin does those for us all.
Yeah. Kevin's the heavy hitter on that show. One thing that I wanted to do, it popped up on my Instagram the other day, Mbon Hockey did it. But I'll look back at what the last 5 Stanley Cup champions did at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And I found this pretty interesting.
Okay, you talk about it first.
Well, and the reason I find it interesting is like a very buzzkill kind of thing. But in 2011, Tampa Bay acquired David Savard from the Tampa Bay Lightning. 2021, sorry. 2020, geez.
2011, how far back are we going? I didn't go that far.
It is worth noting, the year before that, the Tampa Bay Lightning acquired Coleman and Gaudreau.
Yeah, they were swinging.
They swung. 2 first-round picks, I think, out the door in those deals, all that stuff.
Both those guys, it kind of set a bit of a tone of like guys who had an extra year on their contracts too.
But in 2020, when the Lightning won, they loaded up. 2021, they made the one move for David Savard, which was a medium to high move.
If I remember correctly, he was a top 5 player on the market.
Yeah. So they kind of made big splashes in each of those years.
Yeah.
2022, when Colorado won, Josh Manson and Arturi Lehkonen were the 2 big ones. Mm-hmm. Then they went and added Nico Sturm and Andrew Cogliano. So 2 pieces more at the top of their lineup, 2 pieces in the bottom. They brought in 4 new players.
Cogliano was for like a 5th round pick.
Yeah. Like, we're talking nibbling around the edges kind of stuff here. That'd be like the Oilers getting, Cogliano is like maybe a Teddy Bluger type on this year's market or whatever. 2023, the Golden Knights got Barbashev. Okay. They got one big name. And then Bluger and Jonathan Quick.
Yeah.
So again, Quick was a third goalie. Who cares? Bluger, again, bottom 6, extra forward kind of thing. 2024, the Florida Panthers, all they did was Tarasenko and Okposo. Or Tarasenko, again, was like a 3rd-round pick, I think, went the other way.
Yeah, because if you remember correctly, it was like, I will only play in Florida.
Mm-hmm. 2025, Florida got Seth Jones. That was a crazy deal. Brad Marchand, who was basically only going to go to Florida, but again, was a really big move. Then they also got Nico Sturm. Nico Sturm on this list twice, by the way.
Yeah, only played it twice.
Is there anything to pull from what these last 5, and you can go back one more year with Tampa Bay to 6, and what they did? I think it's interesting that none of them got the number 1 guy on the market.
Yeah, because Seth Jones wasn't really on the market.
No.
Brad
and like
Marchand
Brock
was on there, but
Brock Nelson was the number 1 name on the market last year.
I'll say this is my takeaway from it. Most of these teams had their top 6 in place, like going into the trade deadline. Their stars were in place, and they just plugged in the depth pieces to add an extra layer. That was my kind of takeaway. Like, obviously, Seth Jones is a big one, but like you look through Florida's, like Tarasenko played in the 3rd line basically the whole playoffs. Yeah. Okposo wasn't an out guy. Yeah. Vegas, like I said, Teddy Bluger, they got a 3rd goalie. Colorado, Lehkonen became a big piece for them, but I don't think he was expected to be as impactful as he was. And Cogliano was just a bottom 6 forward for them. So I think for the Oilers, should go in a way of the 2023 Golden Knights approach, where you probably need another scorer in Barbashev. Yep. And then you get your depth center in Teddy Bluger.
Mulek said, are these full years of trades or just deadline? It's
Just
deadline,
deadline
range, right?
But all of them didn't really do too much anyway. Like I lost, it wasn't too impactful. And the other thing too, I think is always interesting. Like, sure, I'm sure there's one player in this as we talk about it, but like, a lot of them don't make big splashes in free agency either. Really? They kind of make their big, especially Florida this past year. Like they didn't really do too much. They just went and got Seth Jones. And the one caveat I'll put on Florida, they got out of the Ekblad money and were able to take Seth Jones because Ekblad cheated and the league let them get away with it.
Yeah, Ekblad cheated. The Panthers were given a heads up behind the scenes that Ekblad was going to be suspended for PEDs. They knew they would be without his cap for the remainder of the season. And then even before the Ekblad suspension was announced, they went out and made the trade for Seth Jones because they knew within the next 72 hours the announcement would come and they'd have the cap space.
Yeah.
Pretty wild that happened, actually.
Yeah, kind of. And then the others got investigated for Evander Kane's LTIR.
Yeah, but the Panthers would never be investigated for anything like that.
No, and that's the other thing, too. And I think Florida deserved to win the Stanley Cup. They did.
Yeah.
But in that game 6, they were like the players on the ice with $20 million over the salary cap.
Yep.
That's nuts.
Because the NHL let them get away with it. And again, the
huge
Oilers
advantage.
were over the cap by $7 million, I think it was, or something.
Yeah, something like that. Actually, I don't think it was that high, to be honest.
Might have been less.
Because they had Arvidsson in the press box.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Perfect.
I do. So someone I think really, really summed it up well. And it's kind of what I pulled away from like doing this little exercise and looking what the past Stanley Cup teams have done. Those teams had their structure. And here you go. This is from Zenith. Those teams had good structure and they just reinforced their structure with depth.
And they didn't spend too much to get it. Like I'll set aside the 2024 Panthers because they gave up Spencer Knight in the first round pick. But the year prior, 2024 Panthers, gave up a third round pick and a 6th round pick for Kyle Okposo. Mm-hmm. You don't have to splash everything. So this is what it was. Earlier in the season, they went and got Steven Lorenz. Tarasenko was a 4th round pick and a 3rd round pick, and Okposo was a conditional 7th. The Buffalo basically did Okposo a favor out of everything.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think when you look at this, I think the Oilers need to get a third-line center and a top 6 winger. The third-line center doesn't need to be necessarily like, we need Ryan O'Reilly. Yeah. Like, it can be like, Teddy Bluger is just an example in this because he was traded. But someone like him who's like, I don't even need you to score goals. I just need you to go out there and stop the other team's best players from scoring goals. Can you do that? That's what I'm looking for in all of this.
And teams that, like, even the year Tampa Bay kind of went, like, in air quotes, all in, it was to get Barkley, Goudreau, and Blake Coleman because they needed to beef up their middle 6.
Yeah. So that was 2020, right?
1920 season, yeah.
Okay.
I look at that and go, like, yeah, they were willing to spend. And, again, I think the Oilers should absolutely and obviously be willing to spend this year. Mm-hmm. But what comes along with that is don't just spend for the sake of spending. Remember the year the Rangers went and who else they got? Patrick Kane. They got one other really big name on the market. And it just like...
Wasn't it Roslovic?
No, it was Andrew Copp.
Oh, yeah, I think it was Andrew
Copp. They might have also gotten Roslovic that year. And everyone was sitting there being like, oh my God, can you believe what the New York Rangers just did? They just loaded up. They are Stanley Cup contenders. Look, they kind of just went and spent for the sake of spending so that they could win the press conference and all of that. And like, even if you go back to that deadline, like the biggest names were not the names that the Lightning ended up getting. Tyler Toffoli got traded around that time and he got a pretty big haul. He was one of the more famous names on the market. Vincent Trocheck got traded. He was one of the pretty big names on the market.
And like from Florida, right?
From Florida to Carolina. Yeah. And it was a big haul they got back. Haula, Luosterainen, Chase Presky. There are teams that sit there and go like, oh my God, we're facing pressure. Like I look at Detroit this year. And Detroit is linked to everybody. If there's a player on the market, there are rumblings that Steve Yzerman is interested in acquiring them.
Yeah.
They strike me as a team who's going to spend for the sake of spending this year, whereas I don't think that's how the smart teams operate.
I just keep going back to what that comment was, the structure of your team.
Yeah.
Like, I think if Detroit, for example, is like getting guys who have years left, then that makes more sense. But if I was them, I wouldn't be looking at like rentals too heavily.
No, like if everyone keeps saying like Panarin's a dream fit there, and I'm like, whoa,
why?
I don't think Artemi Panarin turns the Detroit Red Wings into a Stanley Cup contender.
No, I don't think so either. I think they're missing a few pieces still. But it's important they get this to the playoffs, and they probably will.
They should. They should. All right, let's get to a couple of comments. They got Tarasenko. And, they also got Tarasenko that year. It wasn't Kopp, the Rangers.
Oh, right.
Then there was that Bree. Yeah, they got both of them. Lost in the first round in New Jersey.
And they got Mikko Mikkola.
Nico Mikkola.
That was it. Too.
Yeah.
Oh, Nico Mikkola, yeah.
Ryan Nugent Hopkins in the chat. The time to really cash in and spend is the off season where we get the cap relief. We can't blow our load too early when it comes to assets. Yes. And I've had that take for a while. It's like, you know what? If there is a perfect player out there who falls into your lap, like, you obviously have to go do it if you're the Edmonton Oilers. And I don't think anyone's going to accuse Stan Bowman of thinking like this, but Stan Bowman can't just sit there and leading up to the deadline, hold his 2027 first rounder, because they already spent their 2026 first rounder. He can't just hold that 2027 first rounder and be like, I need to trade this for the best player I can get. Mm-hmm. You can probably, like, again, some past teams that have won the Stanley Cup have done, you can probably do some damage with your next 2 second rounders. You could probably do some damage with, a Boakey and a 3rd round pick. Like, that's the other thing too, is right now it's mock trade season, and every GM that is selling is leaking out to the media that, like, oh, I'm going to get a 1st round pick for Kiefer Sherwood. Did they get a 1st round pick for Kiefer Sherwood?
Incorrect.
No, they did not. 2 seconds was still a good return. But, like, remember in November, it was like the Canucks, if they move on from Kiefer Sherwood, are looking for a 2nd round or a 1st round pick plus. The deals rarely end up being that.
I actually think that Carson Soucy trade helped out the Oilers a little bit the other day. An in-division trade, in-city trade, and it cost the Islanders a 3rd round pick for a top 6 defenseman. I think the Oilers can turn to any team basically outside of their division and be like, the Islanders have to pay a 3rd. We're not paying a 3rd. We're not even in the same division. We're paying a 4th for this player. And I think that will actually help them a little bit moving down the road here. But I do think this trade line can be impactful without getting the best player, like you were saying. Like, even last year, like, they got 2 really impactful players. I would say in the moment they look to be impactful. Wallman and Frederick. One of them turned out to be quite impactful. The other one's still finding his way. Hopefully that ends soon and they can find his way quicker than he needs to. So if they can go out and they can find a bottom 6 player, maybe a defenseman, I think your top 6 is probably fine if you don't add to it. I would like them to add another scorer somehow, some way. But a 3rd line center is probably the priority, bottom 6 player.
Your top 6 is also probably okay because, like, if Kapanen goes cold, you move up Roslovic. If Roslovic goes cold, you move up Savoy. And, like, there are enough pieces around here where you can kind of shift things around and piece together some new looks. Speaking of which, the Oilers did practice today in Edmonton ahead of their game tomorrow against the San Jose Sharks. Our good friend Tony Barrar has the lines and pairings, and I mean, there's basically one piece of news. The forward lines are staying the same. Again, not surprising at all. Josh Szymanski obviously didn't do anything to deserve to get pulled out of the lineup. So Szymanski stays in as the 3C. Everything else is the same. The one change, Chris Knobloch saying after practice, Matthias Ekholm day to day. That is why Alec Regula is skating up on that top pairing.
Not ideal. I didn't really see what happened to him. I mean, obviously he finished the game. Maybe something that just got lingered after. So maybe Regula just slide right in there. Probably not. But, I mean, Regula, I mean, it is a funny question, like how long until that guy does get a game in here? Does he get one before the Olympics? We'll see. I don't think they're too overly concerned. I think it's good that they're going back to Jari. They do got to get him in somewhat of a rhythm, I would say, as much as like what Petey said. It's like you get this guy in Connor Ingram, is like if he plays the 5th game in 6, the 5th game at the end of a 6th game, like he's fine. So yeah, I like the lines. I think they're fine. Szymanski, will he get more than time on ice? That will all be dependent on the power plays.
Dangerous Wade, Regula hat-trick watch. Hey, you never know. Knockout Panda, we getting Nurse Bouchard? No, I don't think so. I think if Ekholm does have to miss the game tomorrow, actually, no, maybe that is a good question. What would they do if Ekholm has to miss?
Nurse up. Yeah, probably Nurse up Regula. Well, no, you got 3 lefts, 3 righters. Like Wallman, you just have to ask him to play on the left side.
Oh, yeah.
and then just bring up Emberson, put Regula on that pairing. I would probably go Wallman, Bouchard, Nurse, Emberson, Stasny, Regula, just because familiarity.
And just pray to God that Celebrini doesn't get on the ice against Regula and Stasny.
Yes.
I mean, it is funny. We'll obviously preview the game tomorrow, but like the Sharks with Celebrini on and off the ice. I know I've beaten this point to death on a few shows, but like,
Pretty good.
My God, it's crazy.
He's a pretty good player.
I'm really excited to see him tomorrow.
Yeah, I am too. It's last time they only came to Edmonton once last season, if I'm not mistaken, and that was that 2-1 overtime game where Askarov was unbelievable. The Oilers couldn't beat him, but then eventually did. They're a decent team. They're a decent team.
Okay, I saw this one at Leafs Latest on Twitter. They have a mock trade, Liam.
Okay,
you ready for this? Brandon Carlo.
This is to us.
This is to the Oilers. Okay. Brandon Carlo and Bobby McMann. Bobby McMann is 50% retained, and Carlo has one more year at $3.45 million.
I'd prefer him at 50 retained, but either way.
Sure. Brandon Carlo and Bobby McMann to the Edmonton Oilers for Andrew Mangiapane, a first and 2 seconds. Who hangs up first? I don't know how much interest I have in Brandon Carlo.
I know. I'm trying to think though. I feel like if I didn't have those picks so much, I wouldn't not be interested. I thought Brandon Carlo, we wanted him last year. Like he looked to be a good player. 3 point whatever it is. So I guess the others would probably hang up, especially with the idea of like you're not even getting out of money from Mangiapane the year after.
And this kind of ties back into you don't just need to go spend assets for the sake of spending them. Like if you have Brandon Carlo and he's on your third pairing over Emberson or over Stasny, like how much of a difference is that making in your Stanley Cup chances versus if you just go, instead of having to spend the extra assets to make this deal work and have Brandon Carlo included and all of that, can you just go get a Matt Grzelcyk or whoever, and you just don't need to spend for the sake of spending, I think is kind of my point. And that's kind of what this whole conversation was about. Friendship and not spending for the sake of spending.
Lance is in and said, no one hangs up, but they exchange pleasantries.
Yeah. It's like, I'm good, but thank you.
Yeah. How you doing,
sure.
Brad?
All right. Second guest of the day is here. Brought to you by, as all non-game days are, by our friends at Derek Dodge. It is the beginning of a new chapter for Derek Dodge in Edmonton. They are under new ownership, bringing a fresh approach, new energy, and a renewed focus on customer experience. And right now, they have a deal that is tough to beat. With every vehicle purchase, you will receive a trip for two to Las Vegas. You leave the lot with a new vehicle, and flights and accommodations for a trip for two to Las Vegas is on them. Visit them at their location, 6211 104th Street Northwest, or visit them online at derekdodge.com. Former NHLer, member of the big program with Kevin Karius, David Schlemko joins the show. David, appreciate you giving us some time. How's it going?
Good, fellas. How are we doing?
We are good. Our first guest of the day on the show was someone who you might remember. Steve Peters was your old video coach with the Arizona Coyotes. He does some video breakdown work for us now. And we were reminiscing about your old days with the Arizona Sundogs in the CHL.
Yeah, not the most normal path to the show there. So when I was 20, the Yotes decided to cut ties with the Roadrunners of the East Coast League, and we went to the Central Hockey League up in Prescott Valley. It was a different beast. It wasn't that young AA league like the East Coast. Maybe a few NHLers, like way past NHLers, but mostly just a bunch of beauties who love playing the game and having a good time. And I ended up winning a championship my first year pro, so it was awesome, actually.
That was your first year coming out of junior. And again, we're going to talk about the Oilers and their blue line and a whole bunch of current stuff. But I'm just, again, fascinated by your career path and what you've managed or what you turned it into. Because, like, when you're coming out of the WHL and you're fresh off that Memorial Cup run with Medicine Hat and you're playing in the CHL that next year, were you just, like, young and excited to play pro hockey? Or were there points where you were like, oh, my God, like, is this going to be it? Am I going to play in the CHL for a couple of years and be done?
Yeah, definitely the latter. I'm like, a couple of months in, I'm thinking, where the hell am I? This ain't the path. So it was tough. I had a really good junior career. Maybe didn't work as hard as I should have in the gym, and just thought that my my skill and my talent were going to carry me to the NHL, and found out pretty quickly that wasn't going to be the case. So, I figured I might be off to Europe or what have you after that first year in we used to call it the Cocktail Hockey League, the CHL.
And
But,
a year.
no, I had a really good summer that year and made it to the American League the next year and just kind of slowly chipped away at it.
I was going to say, by the time that next season ended, like you had NHL games under your belt with Phoenix. Again, just a crazy career path you had. Now in the media side of things, you do a bunch of stuff with our boy Kevin at Sports 1440. So let's talk a little bit about the current run that the Oilers are on. Back-to-back wins again. We'll see if they get win number 3. But obviously the production from the blue line has been what's fueled these last 2 victories. And the one thing that I really noticed, and granted I notice it because the goals are happening, but even take the goals out of it, I feel like their D-men have been a lot more active jumping up in the rush these last few games.
Yeah, they've been really good, really strong. I like what I've seen. I mean, obviously Evan Bouchard is on a whole nother level with the 3-3, but I love to see a guy like Matthias Ekholm get rewarded. Here's a guy who plays in the trenches most of the time, and he's hard, he's physical, he's not getting any younger. So I've always thought his offense is a little bit underrated, so it's nice to see him get rewarded. And the other guy's been playing well too. I'm a big proponent of Alec Regula. I do think that he has the highest ceiling out of the 3 young guys back there. But Spencer Stastny and Ty Emerson, they deserve to be in the lineup right now. They've been doing a great job. I want to say maybe a month ago, I wasn't sure if Ty Emerson was gonna stay in the NHL. He was struggling a little bit, and kudos to him. He's got his opportunities, come back in the lineup, and he's finally playing with some confidence, man. I mean, he's always been a battler and he's always going to play physical, but seeing him move that puck efficiently, finally, using the center, using the middle of the ice, beating guys one-on-one, he's just playing with a ton more confidence. Loving to see it.
You might have just answered your next question.
I know, so I'm going to flip it. Alec Regula, he's someone, I think it's fair to say he's a bit of a controversial player in the sense of like...
Polarizing.
Yeah, polarizing. I did a bit of a deeper dive on him too, and it turned my opinion on him. I think something that he just needs to get better at is the pace of play, is something I would say. But like, what do you see in Alec Regula to say that like you think he has the highest ceiling out of that little trio they have in the bottom there?
Well, it's just the things you can't teach, right? And I agree with you. I think it's the pace of the game. He's got to move that puck a little quicker. But when I see him hang on to that puck an extra second longer and maybe slide a little slip pass through 2 sticks to the centerman on a breakout, and now we're coming through the neutral zone with speed on an odd man rush. Those are like the little underrated plays that maybe a lot of people don't see. And I think that especially those high-end guys on the Oilers, the Connors, the Leons, those are the guys that love being out there with a guy that's going to hit them with speed breaking out of the D zone through the middle of the ice.
I think sometimes, again, like surface level stuff that you see when you watch the game of like turnovers, and, Bouchard gets hammered with that narrative really hard and Nurse gets hammered with it. And even sometimes Wallman, he'll make some plays where you kind of like raise an eyebrow and you're like, what were you thinking there? Why not make the simple play? But that idea of having a bunch of defensemen that can just do the glass and out simple play, like that doesn't fly when you have Connor and Leon on your team. Like the Oilers, and I guess I'm not even asking a question, I'm more presenting a take, but like they've really done a good job over the last couple of years of building this blue line to like play for their strengths, which is, again, puck moving and getting it up to the forwards.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think with Regula too, he missed the whole year of hockey, right? He had the bad, I think it was a knee injury, he missed the whole year. He comes back, he has a great camp, a great start, and then he gets the bad concussion. So it's been tough for him. I hope he gets another chance kind of before that last little run into the playoffs where, your lineup's going to be basically set. I hope he gets a chance to work his way back in and maybe see what he can do. With young defensemen, they usually say you need about 200 games to see what you got. And that's why I was holding back my, I guess, negative opinion on Ty Emerson. He was at about the 150 mark, and look at him now. I mean, he's playing with a ton of confidence. So I think there's something to be said about that 200 game mark as well for the young defenseman.
Well, let me kind of maybe lean on your experience then and talk about that because, it's not like you just wake up, step on the ice for game 200 and it's like, holy shit, I'm really good at this. But what are some of the things that like as you creep closer to that 200 game mark that you start to feel differently about in your game as a D-man?
I think you're not thinking as much is really the thing, right? When you're a young guy, you come back to the bench after a shift and you're thinking like, okay, what did I do well to get noticed? What did I not do well? And I might not get another shift, or I might not get as much ice time. And I think as you slowly kind of build up that momentum as a young player, it's almost like little marbles building a mountain, if you will, you know? You get that confidence. I know I'm saying confidence a lot, but it's huge with the young defenseman. And if you can just slowly keep building that, you know, now all of a sudden you're getting a little more ice time and you're not even thinking about those mistakes. You know that you go out there and you make a mistake, that you've shown enough that your coach is going to throw you back out there next shift.
Isn't that the beauty of a guy like Evan Bouchard too? Where like he'll go out there and shit, he'll make back-to-back turnovers. And like I always say, like I don't want those turnovers to disappear from his game. I don't want Chris Knobloch to bench him every time he makes a turnover, because his superpower is making high-risk plays and being able to find those seams that other guys can't make. And like shit, sometimes it's gonna blow up in your face. But like I don't want Evan Bouchard to stop doing that, because those things are what makes him special.
Absolutely, you can't. I mean, Bush, he's a special case. I like to think of him as like a 1%er. Like he can do things with the puck and offensively that 99% of the NHL cannot do. The thing that drives people crazy is those 99% of guys that are in the league, they got to do things to stay in the league, right? They got to bring consistent effort and attitude and urgency. And for some reason, that's just something that Bush just isn't willing to do all the time. And I think that's what drives people a little bit crazy.
Obviously, we're getting close to the trade deadline. There's trade rumors everywhere. If you were looking for the Oilers to acquire a defenseman, what style of player, like what kind of player do you think they need to kind of round out this blue line a little bit?
Well, I'm always about the puck moving, especially with the Oilers, right? I think they've already got some size back there. They got Ekholm, they've got Nurse. Even Wallman, he throws his weight around. Emerson's physical for his size. I mean, I think you look at the Cup final last year. Where did the Oilers get beat, man? They got beat in their D zone. They got beat because they couldn't break the puck out against a heavy forecheck. So I think as many efficient puck movers as you can have back there, the better.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You played in San Jose, you played in Phoenix. You never crossed paths with our boy Jason Demers, though. Hey, you guys were always you flipped, right?
I did actually. I crossed paths with him in Dallas, like 2015. I was there for a couple months. Yeah, we got along great. He's an absolute beauty.
I think he's tomorrow, because the Oilers play the Sharks, so we're gonna try to get JD on again tomorrow. But he joined our show every week last year, and like as I'm sure you know, you never knew where he was gonna pop in from. It'd be like in a golf cart, in a clubhouse, back at his house, in an airport, and he would just pop in ready to go whenever. He is hilarious. Like you've probably played with a ton of characters, but like JD's got it, because you played with Yandel in Arizona too, right?
Yeah, Jans is probably the funniest guy, but JD or Daddy, whatever you want to call him, he's definitely up there. He's top 5, man. I think just the energy on the guy. I don't know.
Yeah, someone else this week was like
someone else called him
Daddy, and I was like, we love him, but I don't think he'd hang up the call if I welcomed him in and called him Daddy. But last one I got, or two more for you. You're wearing the John Reed tournament sweater. Were you behind a bench this year?
No, I wasn't behind the bench this year. I left NAX this year, just working in St. Albert doing like the school academy thing. But my old trainer I used to work out with in the summer, he does the Apollo clothing. He's out in Halifax now, so he got about 15, 20 boxes full of merch sent to my house for the tournament in St. Albert, and said it's going to cost you a hoodie. They're pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, I think it's really sharp. I thought maybe you were like hanging around the rink watching the John Reed all weekend. So I was going to ask you, tell me the next defenseman that's coming out of Western Canada to make the NHL, but maybe you don't have an answer to that.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know what? I did watch a few games. There's some good D-men there for sure. But you know who took pretty much all my attention? I think everyone there is the two guys that are expected to go 1-2, Madden Deneau out of Red Deer and Parker McMillan out of Yale. Both guys were just like head and shoulders above the competition. Pretty fun to watch.
Well, you're obviously scouting this pretty hard for the V's.
It's not particularly close. It's those two and everybody else. The best defenseman didn't play, Jevon Morrison. He's a Red Deer kid too. He was injured, but he's pretty good. It's a good group. Yeah.
How good's
I like
Madden
that
to know?
Seedle. I like that Seedle kid from Red Deer, number 8.
Yeah.
He skated well. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he stepped up pretty good without Morrison. How good is Dano?
Yeah.
Dano could probably play in the Western League right now and do a decent job.
And how old is he?
He's, what would they be, 15, I think? 2011 born this year.
Jesus.
Yeah, 14. It's crazy.
Last one I had for you is just another kind of look back at your career, but there was a point, what was this, a week ago, where if the playoffs would have ended a week ago, it's Edmonton San Jose in round 1. And I think it's so funny to think that 10 years ago when it was Edmonton San Jose, you were playing in that series, but it was like the young upstart Edmonton Oilers against that grizzled veteran Sharks team that you were a part of. And now 10 years later, it could be the flip where it's the grizzled Oilers who are trying to get over the hump and the young Sharks with Celebrini. But going back to 2017, you had a hell of a series, by the way. You scored twice. But what do you remember about that 2017 series and playing playoff games against the Oilers and everything that went into that?
It was special, actually. You know, it was pretty wild. I think it was the first year the Oilers had made the playoffs in a decade or so. So they're pretty fired up. That was definitely the loudest I've ever heard that building was in warm-ups of game 1 of that series. No, it was cool. Talking to friends and family, nobody cared that I was playing for the Sharks. You know, that had been so long for the Oilers. Everyone was pulling for the Oilers. And you know what? It is. It's funny. They were the up-and-coming young team. I remember we were pissed off, actually. We felt like we were being disrespected. All the media were calling the Oilers to win. I think the Sharks were just in the Cup final the year before, but we had some injuries. Patty Marleau, Jumbo was playing on one knee and just couldn't get her done. Lost in 6. But, yeah, I had a couple of goals that series, so fun to look back on for sure.
David, appreciate your time. Keep up the good work with Kev over at 1440, and we'll have you on again soon.
Thanks, fellas. Have a good one.
There you go. Former NHLer David Schlemko wrapping up what has somehow turned into Arizona Coyotes Day on the show. He was great.
Funny how that works. And we'll let maybe JD tomorrow, like you said. So, yeah, I looked at the games he scored, and he scored in the 7-0 game. So that was game 4. The Oilers had just shut them out back-to-back games. Yeah. And he scored in game 5, which was the game that the Oilers came back from and won in overtime.
Clefbaum tied it up late. Desharnais OT.
Yeah, he scored the 3rd goal in the game. What would have been known as the insurance goal. No insurance, unfortunately.
No, the insurance failed.
Insurance failed.
But that was a hell of a series, man.
I remember, so I was at game 1.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I remember, Nate, I won the lottery to, get the tickets. You didn't win the tickets. You still had to pay however much it was. But it was still cool to go. And then me and my buddies, a few buddies who were at Nate, who I went to high school with, went to Rogers Place for the watch party for the 7-0 loss. So, damn, tough one to come to.
That's the tough part about the playoffs, though.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you could be leaving pretty depressed.
Yep.
All right. That is a wrap on today's edition of the show. One more shout out for our friends at Bet365. By the way, Avs puck line tonight against the Sens. The line's too good to be true, I feel like.
Avs puck line versus the Sens. Are they on the road or at home?
They're on the road. It's in Ottawa, but Ottawa's under 500 on home ice this year.
Damn.
Plus 160 on Avs puck line.
Who's starting?
I am not sure who is starting yet.
I got it.
Is Allmark back?
Oh, boy. James Reimer. Old reliable.
My God. I might take Beltline tonight. Nathan McKinnon might score 5 goals.
Beltline. The good part about this, too, 5:30 puck drop. I can watch it at Golf League. So there's some BS happening in my golf league right now. We've got 8 minutes.
What's wrong?
There's 13 of us in this league, but one of my friends lives in Lethbridge. So he's in the league. He does it down there. That's fine. But we have 2 other guys who will remain nameless, but their names are Nick and Cam. Mm-hmm. And they have been on vacation. Their work schedules haven't lined up. So now they haven't been able to come. They've only come 3 times. We're on week 14 or something like that, however far in we are. So the way it works is on the final round, you go into a bracket. 4 people can play on one station. You have your championship, your middle ground, and you have the final 4. So I am currently, what would that be? 9th in the league. But I'm like clearly not going to finish last at all. Like I'm like 30 strokes up on last place. But now that these two guys haven't been around for so long and they have so many makeup rounds, they're debating if the final four, the bottom four, should just go in a playoff round for the final day.
You should be excluded from
I'm
that.
like, this is BS. I've been to every single round. I am clearly out of it. And now I'm being roped into this. So a few weeks, I might even drag myself out of it. But there's two of us who are like 8th and 9th. There's like 2 strokes between us. And I put my foot down yesterday. I was like, we should not be included in this. Those guys haven't shown up for whatever reason.
Why
it's
don't
fine.
they just do a 3-man playoff?
They should. I'll just let those guys do their play-in rounds and see what happens.
But like, what's even
ridiculous.
What's even the logic in including you with all those guys?
No logic.
So what's the counter arguments in the group chat?
The logic is, well, there's only been me countering it and the other guy. And it is that 4 people need to play on the bay. Is the logic. It's like, okay, I can still play. I'm just not part of this stupid playoff round because everyone else went on vacation. I've been there. I'm dedicated. I'm there every week. Grinding. Shooting into the bush. Showing everyone what not to do. And I'm just getting thrown into the wolves.
I think you could have a good couple of weeks and maybe shoot up this leaderboard a bit.
I've been playing fine. I've learned how to drive a little bit because I use other people's drivers now. I've got to go to that golf shop on 99th Street. Have you heard about this place?
On the south side?
Yeah, that would be the south side.
Yeah.
It's like a big warehouse or something I hear. Got to buy myself a stiff driver. Mine's too flimsy. By the time I'm getting to like the ball with the top of my
You're
club.
too strong.
Well, this club's still behind my ear. The end of it, the head. So I got
all your rotations off.
I don't know what's off. A lot is off. Yeah, it's got to be the equipment.
Well, no, I agree. Like it is like, because
So
too whippy, you're rotating too early probably. And
yeah, that's probably it. So my one friend has a stiffer one and shoot a lot better with it. My drives go straight. So that's good.
that is a big thing.
Yeah.
All right. Someone in the chat knows your friend Cam.
Who said that?
Oil City Baron.
I don't see him.
Second comment.
Oh,
His work schedule apparently sucks, so cut him some slack.
he's been on vacation. I know. Hey, his work schedule is fine. It was a problem last year, and Cam made up for it. But I'm not. It's not Cam's fault, and it's not Nick's fault. It's fine that they can't come.
Commissioner's fault.
But don't drag me into this damn thing. That's all I'm
All
saying.
right. Lunchtime, glass of milk. Yummy, yummy milk.
I have 4 cheese Alfredo sauce with pasta and pork for lunch. So
I'm going to be on the Jason Greger show later today.
nice.
I'm recording an interview for DFO with a former Olympian.
Oh, they announced the Olympic torch carriers today.
Oh, who are they?
A skier and somebody else. I should have probably been more prepared before I said that. I didn't recognize their names, but they've been to the Olympics. One of them 4 times. One of them, I think, 3 times.
These are the flag bearers?
Yeah, the Oilers. Canada's only gone with 2, I think. You can vote for Leon Draisaitl.
Mikhail Kingsbury? He's like isn't he one of the best skiers ever?
I don't know. I'm terrible. The Winter Olympics isn't something you grow up with in England because we don't have winter. So I'm still learning a lot of these names for Canadians. No, Ryan Wedden is not one of the flag carriers. But I saw some people who were upset that it wasn't like hockey players. And it's like, there's a lot more sports that go on Olympics.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Mikhail Kingsbury and Marielle Thompson.
They're both skiers. I
They're
think.
both skiers.
Yeah, so that's great. I'm excited for the. We're coming up to it quick. There is honestly no other sporting event that is better than the Olympics. Like, I love it. You just watch all these sports, and it's just like, I will never, ever watch this again outside of this 2 weeks, but I am so in on what is happening right now. On the bobsled, the snowboarding is awesome. Like, you can rewatch it all the time. It's great.
I've also never had Bet365 a part of my life during the Olympics,
true.
so I'm interested to see how that plays out.
That's true. We'll see. Hilarious that Joel did not show up in the YouTube chat today. I told you.
He's going to go back and watch this episode in an hour and realize he was the star of it.
So funny. I don't know. We don't know much about Joel,
No.
but it cracked me up that he is just not here today. Maybe tomorrow.
All right, tomorrow, game day edition of the program, so giddy up. We're excited for that one, but that is a wrap on today's edition of the show. Everyone, enjoy your Wednesday. I'm also going virtual golfing tonight, so giddy
Nice.
up. Yeah. I'm going to be on the Jason Greger show at 5:30 as well, if anyone wants to tune in.
Good luck.
But other than that, thank you. Enjoy your Wednesday. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow. Noon Mountain, oil up. What's up, Nation citizens? If you enjoyed today's episode of Oilers Nation Everyday, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube to not miss any of our content. We got you covered from interviews, insight, analysis, everything you need to stay up to date on everything around the team. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video.